Donovan Ezeiruaku is a bully of a pass rusher who was selected by the Dallas Cowboys in this past draft. He's a player that has a knack for getting to the quarterback with 64 pressures and ranking second in the nation with 16 and a half sacks. A guy that was absolutely putting in that work. This is a player that has a lot of tools in his arsenal: swipe moves, inside spin, rip and dip moves, cross chops, as well as ghost rushes. He's a true student of the game and a guy that has the ability to make an impact day one. This is an athlete who is 6'2", 248 pounds with 34-inch arms and an 83-inch wingspan. And that's always good when we're talking about leverage. He also said that he has more room to put on more muscle, saying that he can get up to 255 pounds if need be. That's the kind of energy we want in our defender, a guy that'll do what he has to do to allow the team to be successful. Entering the room of the trenches. The Cowboys are stacked when it comes down to the defensive line this season. Having guys like Micah Parsons and Dante Fowler with him will allow him to take his skills to the top. And it's good to see Eberflus bringing in these dogs because iron sharpens iron. And that is what this team needs to take that next step when it matters, Cowboys Nation. So in this play here, we can see why having long arms is a big advantage for an edge rusher. Ezeiruaku goes up against Graham Barton, who was a player the Cowboys was interested in during the draft last season. One thing I noticed when studying Barton was that he sometimes struggled when defenders got their hands on him first. Here, Ezeiruaku shows perfect technique. He hits Barton on the inside, uses his long arms to create space, and bends around the corner to reach the quarterback. He even forces a fumble on this play, and this is exactly the kind of playmaking ability he'll bring to the Dallas Cowboys, and I am excited to see it. So we go ahead and spin the block. So locking on this play here, watching Ezeiruaku, getting his hands inside, and freezing him behind the line of scrimmage. The good thing about this player, he has a great understanding of where he's supposed to place his hands, finding ways to be able to knock these guys off balance. And seeing those long arms right there, this is why a lot of these scouts, a lot of coaches, they want these kind of athletes. So he was able to extend. Graham Barton was never able to regain ground. He proceeds to bend the corner and gets his hands on the ball. And usually when you do have a player that can be able to make these big time plays like this, it makes things so much easier for the defensive linemen, the linebackers, as well as the secondary. If you can be one of those talents that has the ability to be able to give Dak Prescott back the ball, it is everything when it comes down to this entire organization. And I honestly believe that with his skill set, there is nothing that he can't do when it comes down to rushing the passer, because he has shown that he can do it consistently week in and week out. But when I'm watching film and I'm trying to break down a prospect, I like to see what they're doing against top competition. And Graham Barton is not an easy guy to be able to do that against. But that shows that this player is one of them ones, and this rep definitely proved it. Extending those long arms, bending the edge, and getting to the quarterback and finishing this play. Another thing I like to see from Ezeiruaku is his ability to get his hands inside and bull rush. He is a very strong player, and it'll be interesting to see him on the field once he gets into the Cowboys weight room program. But you always want to see your edge rushers being aggressive, play in and play out. And with this rep here, he flattened the offensive lineman and generated good pressure. So we go ahead and split it. So looking at this play here, you see that he's out wide. The thing is, when you do have that athletic ability, you can line a player like him up in that wide nine stance. He has that athleticism. But getting his hands inside, that offensive lineman has his arms wrapped around him. But Ezeiruaku had leverage again, completely flatlining him and removing him out the play. He didn't get the sack, but he did get into the quarterback's face and forced the incomplete pass. And sometimes when you can be one of those players that's high as far as generating pressures, 64 is a lot coming out of college, so that just shows that this player has a knack for being able to close in and hunt these quarterbacks. But as far as these offensive tackles in the league, you never want to have a situation when you have your arms wrapped around these defenders, because if that does happen, it can end up being a holding call or these defenders will put you on a highlight reel. So it's good seeing Ezeiruaku being physical and not only having that ability to just bull rush, but you can speed rush as well and affect these plays. So another great play by Ezeiruaku. The ghost rush is one of Ezeiruaku's best pass rushing moves. Not many players can do this move effectively because it requires two key skills: quick athleticism and the ability to bend around the offensive lineman. These skills make him especially dangerous as a pass rusher. When he performs this move, he looks similar to guys like Abdul Carter, which is definitely high praise coming from me. So we'll go ahead and run it. So locking on this play here, just watching that right foot, planting it and stepping quickly to the outside, bending down and ripping right through that offensive lineman. It's so good because the thing is, when you're playing that defensive end position, this is why technique is key. You don't want to go out there being too overly aggressive, but every single step that this player just took, it put him in position to get to the quarterback. And usually when you're a 235 or 240-pound defensive end, you got to have that knack for being able to get slippery, because sometimes in the NFL, you will be going up against some powerful offensive tackles. So by him using the ghost rush move, I'm sure that it'll be effective once he gets to the next level. Here's another example of Ezeiruaku's ghost rush move. Even though the quarterback was able to throw the ball, getting this close to the quarterback often leads to mistakes and bad throws. So locking on this play here, you see he's storming off the ball, swinging those arms and bending, and using the ghost rush again. And pretty much with the ghost rush is when you're a defender and you're not even putting a hand on the offensive lineman. You're just firing off the edge and bending. But seeing them closing in, the quarterback did throw the ball, but this guy is all over that quarterback, letting him know that they're going to be there all night. And these are the things you love to see when it comes down to our new defensive end. I am absolutely excited to see how this player is going to play with Micah Parsons, but not only him, Dante Fowler, Osa Odigizua, the list goes on of what this team could potentially do when it comes down to the trenches. And what's special about this kind of talent, you can utilize him on the left side, you can utilize him on the right side, have him blitzing in between A and B gaps, just like Micah Parsons has done so far in his career, with potential of being another queen on a chessboard. It is extremely important to get players like him, guys that can make a difference. Here's the last play of him having the ability to ghost rush, but this time it was a double ghost rush. And it's levels to this when it comes down to pass rushing. That's why me and you have to break these plays like this down and see what this player could potentially do. But we all know when it comes down to the game of football, the lowest man wins. But when it comes down to a player like Donovan Ezeiruaku, he has a great understanding of that. So let's run it. So zooming in on Ezeiruaku, you see that he's downloading that right tackle, hits him with a quick ghost rush, locks his eyes on the quarterback, and dips again. This is why we always say the lowest man wins when it comes down to football, because that allowed this player to be able to make a beeline straight to the quarterback. You got to have that dog mentality and ability to hunt. And having that last name of Ezeiruaku, that should tell you all you need to know when it comes down to this player having that dog mentality. And you definitely see that kind of energy on film all throughout this season. But to be a player to double dip like that, not only do you need athleticism, you need vision, and you have to have a high IQ, finding any way to be able to wreck these plays. So this ended up being another solid rep by said player. If you want to see some of the best NFL and college football helmets and upgrade your man cave or your room, check out Green Gridiron's page in the description. These helmets are torch, available in mini or regular size with the visors, and they are built to last a lifetime. Click the link and use promo code JC Network for a discount on these amazing helmets. Now let's get back to the film session. Here's another quick play of him using his aggression and having the effort to get to the quarterback. You have to have your guys playing to the whistle, and throughout his career, he has definitely shown that, being a leader on and off the field and getting it done. So locking on this play here, you see he's going up against that left tackle. I didn't see him going up against Mimbu like that, but just seeing those hands and they're fighting it out in the trenches, and Ezeiruaku finding a way to disengage. It's not going to always be easy when it comes down to playing up against these left tackles. So using your hands, making sure you're finding ways to evade these left tackles is something that this player will have to do to be successful. It's not going to always be perfect when it comes down to rushing. There might be some talented offensive tackles that can kick slide quickly and they can find ways to wash you out of plays. So sometimes you're going to have to just fight it out. But seeing him using his hands and being aggressive is always good. Another skill I like to see from Ezeiruaku while rushing is his signature swim move. He uses this to catch would-be blockers off guard and finds a way to get leverage and affect the play. When you do have a player like him across from Micah Parsons, you can't double everybody. So it'll be interesting to see how teams game plan against these Cowboys pass rushers. So let's run it. So locking on this play here, just watching 86. He comes forward with his head down, and Donovan uses a nice swim move. The main two rushes that I've seen from this player is either the ghost rush or when he's using that swim move. So when you're an offensive lineman, if your head is down, you're being overly aggressive. He's not one of those crash dummy type of defensive ends. He's very savvy. He knows how to torque his body, and he's very fluent when it comes down to his arm movements. And with this player, whether if it's getting to the quarterback or closing in to stop the run. And with this player's accolades, last year in 2024, he was the ACC Defensive Player of the Year, as well as first team All ACC. And he also was a player that had no major injuries throughout college, so he was reliable as well. So there is a lot that this player could potentially bring, and it will allow Eberflus to lock in and be creative on his game plan. Here's another quick play of him using the swim move, moving and generating pressure. So locking on this play here, just looking at number 77, he's committing too much to the outside. Ezeiruaku uses that as leverage, swims inside, and he has a straight line to the quarterback. This is why we have to break this down in slow motion. Forcing an incomplete pass was a thing of beauty. And with Micah Parsons, with his skill set to ghost rush, he can use spin moves. This will allow the coaching staff to get busy, because when you do have that kind of closing speed, with these offensive linemen making mistakes, all it takes is half a second, finding ways to be able to blow it up. Here's a rep where we see Ezeiruaku fighting with the blocker, slashing inside, and getting to the quarterback. He does have to get better with his run stopping, as well as being stout enough to set the edge, but you'll see good work from him from time to time in that department. So let's run it. So looking at this play here, just seeing him attacking that inside shoulder of that tackle, you got to have that snake kind of energy, being aggressive and slippery, locking in on his target and striking him. The thing is, man, when you do have a player that can be able to do this, not only being able to get after the quarterback, but you're finding ways to be able to fight in the gridiron and stop the run. This is how you take that next step once you get to the big leagues. But consistency is key at the next level. He's going to have to stack these days up and get rolling. And having players like Micah Parsons and Ezeiruaku on the same team is just going to bring out a better Terrence Steele and Tyler Guyton, because we all know with Tyler Guyton, he can be shaky and he's going to have to get himself in order. But that offensive line is going to have to fight it out with this athletic defensive line, and it's going to be box office come training camp. So another dominating rep here for the young edge rusher. So in this final play here, we see him scrape across the field and get his hands on a running back. This is exactly why he's one of my favorite prospects this year. His play this past season proved exactly why. So let's run it. So looking at this play, he's attempting to cross-face that tight end. The tight end got ahead of him, but he was still able to stay low and tackle that running back by the ankles. Regardless if you're ankle tackling, whatever it takes when it comes down to playing a game of football, and seeing this player through high school, being a multiple sport athlete, you've dominated against tough competition in college. The sky is truly the limit for what this player could potentially do. But being a player that was a first round grade on some scouts' boards, and the Cowboys stealing this player in the second round, he is one of the main reasons why a lot of people have been saying that the Dallas Cowboys had an A+ draft. They still need to find a wide receiver too, but as far as picking up all of these athletes, they definitely did a good job. So it's going to be good to see how it all plays out with Donovan Ezeiruaku. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and get me to 6,000 subscribers. The subscriber count has been kind of low. We want to keep dishing out a lot of quality content, but I need my Cowboys fan base to support me. My goal is to bring y'all the best content when it comes down to YouTube, so I will definitely hold it down for y'all. But as far as a player like Ezeiruaku, just mixing him with Micah Parsons, Osa Odigizua, the list goes on and on when it comes down to this player's potential. But he's going to have to lock in and focus and get this thing going. So comment below and let me know what you guys think about Donovan Ezeiruaku. And as far as the drafted and undrafted players, who do y'all want to see me break down, just like this video? So make sure y'all like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell, because the way the YouTube algorithm works, if you don't hit it, you'll miss on fire live streams and the best Cowboys film sessions on YouTube. All right, Cowboys Nation. Talk to y'all soon. Gone.